What's up, Ram fans? Welcome back to an exciting edition of CTV Sports. I'm Mike Walsh, and for some reason, it kind of feels like 2022.
An exciting throwback indeed, Mike. I am Ella Fredrikson, back joining Mike for the first time in way too long. Here's what we've got on tap for you tonight.
Ram Athletics had themselves a week with lots of exciting results coming from our deserving programs.
Nick Ortiz joins us again for some more college football talk and yet another round of pick'ems.
Plus, we talk about some of the current CSU athletes who we think should end up in the Athletics Hall of Fame.
All that and more right here at CTV Sports, which starts right now.
With a chance for redemption, the CSU football team did not disappoint, avenging their tough loss to Boulder this past Saturday as the Rams took down the UTEP Miners 27-17.
Yeah, that's right, Mike. A win that was needed for all Ram fans. Sure. Let's look at some of the biggest plays, starting, of course, with the Mountain West Player of the Week, Avery. He showed up. Now, obviously, he had 156 yards, 21 carries. The numbers are endless. But, Mike, tell me about the performance.
I mean, he just looked like amazing out there.
Yeah.
There's no other word for it. He was fast. He was strong. They're using him on the goal line. They're using him in the end zone.
Everywhere. I was everywhere.
He's getting yards everywhere. He's getting touchdowns. It's just, he was a different beast in this game.
Oh, absolutely. The speed came through. He had that 73-yard burst all the way down.
No one was near him.
No. Longest of his career, too. So he had himself a day, not just a Rams win, but obviously a much-deserved title.
And the defense showed up.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That was the crowd went crazy on that blocked punt that happened.
Yeah,
Everyone
Dane Olsen
went
with the blocked punt,
crazy.
the interception, too. Yeah, no, defense showed up. Fort Air Raid was there. They came to play, for sure.
I mean, the running game is there with multiple running backs. We have three running backs that can really run the ball, but Avery Morrow and Justin Marshall are a crazy 1-2 punch.
Yeah, no, and that's a game Avery deserved.
Yeah,
you know,
for
he needed
sure.
that.
But now that we've seen the best plays, let's take a look at how the Rams matched up on paper. Looking at the stats, I mean, it's dominant, but that pass yards is pretty surprising there. For a team that calls themselves Fort Air Raid to be dominated by UTEP 276-132, but obviously you see the rushing. Huge numbers there.
If we did not put up the rushing yards that we did, I would be a little bit more concerned with the fact that Fort Air Raid is not air raiding, right?
Yeah.
But because we were able to be so successful on the ground, it ultimately made up for that lack of passes and
ultimately, the defense won us this game. UTEP was coming back in that fourth quarter, and the defense kind of shut them down. Let the offense get some time in possession there. 33-26, pretty good advantage there for CSU.
Yeah.
I think overall, just without the passing yards, you can just look at this as a CSU advantage.
Oh, definitely.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Luckily for Norvell and company, they have a bye this weekend before heading to Corvallis, Oregon, where they will take on the Oregon State Beavers, a pretty good team.
Yeah.
And before we move on from CSU football, we had some breaking news just this afternoon.
Yeah, Mike, earlier today it was announced that the Pac-12 is suing the Mountain West Conference for their poaching penalties. Now, what do you think?
This just seems kind of crazy for the Pac-12. I think there's already some just bad blood in the water. I know the Mountain West commissioner responded now and kind of called out the Pac-12 for kind of the same thing. So it looks like they're just going back and forth, and it just looks like there's millions of dollars going one of the ways, and probably both of the ways.
I was just about to say the Mountain West is looking for more than $40 million,
which just seems insane.
Out of the Pac-12 for poaching. You know, Boise, Fresno, obviously CSU, right? And
look, they took their powerhouses. There's no denying that. But this money stuff, it seems like it might be a long journey before it's over.
It is just so much and such high stakes for so many big schools.
And look, I want the Mountain West to get the money because it'll help them. They can rebrand the Mountain West. They can bring in some new teams.
Yeah.
But I don't want it to hurt the Pac-12 now that CSU's in it, right?
Yeah.
So it's a tough thing to think about, to hear about, but we'll see how it goes in these coming months.
We'll keep you guys updated as we know more on the lawsuit and what the Mountain West and Pac-12 end up doing. But for now, that's enough football action, Let's
switch to volleyball.
I completely agree. After a tough loss on Thursday, the Colorado State Rams were able to turn things around on the court in Boulder to claim the Golden Spike Trophy, defeating in-state rival Colorado 3-1. Now, keep in mind, regardless of the box score Thursday, the trophy is awarded to the team that wins the most sets across the series. So even though a 3-1 loss to start the series is not ideal, it wasn't over. There was promise shown after CSU was able to push the Buffs to a dramatic 32-30 finish, but unfortunately, they were unable to close out on those critical points. Cohan and the Rams quickly bounced back Friday, taking the first set 25-21. as Naima Weathers took charge with 5 kills in the set, assisted by Emery Herman, racking up 15 of her season-high 48 assists on the night. After the Buffs had a promising second set, the third became the deciding factor once again, this time in favor of the Rams. Malaya Jones, who had not played as the best version of herself the night prior, rebounded with an incredible performance, helping the 27-25 victory. From the closing set landslide, it looked like the smooth-sailing, competitive Rams we are all used to. Jones finished with 22 kills respectively, while Weathers added 12 of her own and a .667 hitting percentage. Herman's success with distributing the ball even allowed for other powerhouses like Kennedy Stanford to join the party, along with plenty of others wearing green and gold to help pull off the comeback. CSU's victory on Friday ended non-conference play on a better note than it started, bringing the Golden Spike Trophy back up north for the first time in 3 years. Now, Mike, big deal. Rams are entering Mountain West play with a matchup against last year's regular season champs. How are you feeling about their conference schedule?
You know, it's a tough conference.
Yeah.
It always is. I think this Rams team, even though they had a tough start, I think they can really come alive with this conference play.
Absolutely. I think the series, taking that win over Boulder, is going to be the best possible situation heading into conference play. Obviously, it's not ideal that we're up against Utah first, you know? Maybe a little bit easier of a game to start things off.
The rivalries help, though.
Yeah,
when you know it's a team that you want to beat, you know the fans want you to beat them, you want to beat that team.
Yeah,
and that's what they did against Boulder. That's what they can do against teams like Wyoming, teams like Air Force. I think this conference slate could see a lot of wins for the Rams.
Yeah, no, I agree. With the competitiveness, the air is different. They play harder. You can see the grit. You can see the depth that they get from the bench.
Time.
Absolutely.
They need some time to work together. I know they're all starters. They all were here last year, but they just need some time this year.
Get their footing.
You know, shake the rust off. Right.
Absolutely.
But, you know, we'll cut away from volleyball.
Yeah.
We'll go to another winning program, though.
Right.
Another winning program. We'll go to golf. So, for golf, just a few short days after a Rams win and a Jake Rogers silver medal at the Rams Masters, the CSU men's golf team continued their dominance, this time at the Gene Miranda Invitational this past weekend, winning it for the 3rd consecutive year. And while the whole team performed well, one player really stood out. Matthew Wilkinson led from the very first swing to the last, shooting 65, 70, and 71, good for a final score of -10, placing first out of all the competitors, and his best hole came on the first day when he hit a eagle, better known as 2 under par, on hole 16. But he wasn't the only one to go under par. Both Ralph Keevy and Christoph Blier went under with -4 and -1 respectively, helping the team to a score of -14, shooting 286, 281, and 283 for the 3 days of play. Colorado State will look to put another 4 players into the top 10 this upcoming Monday at the Mark Simpson Colorado Invitational. But now let's switch to another high-performing Rams team.
Colorado State cross country put up a strong performance at the Roy Griak Invitational in Minneapolis last Friday. To no surprise, both the men and women had top 5 individual finishes and both placed 4th overall. On the men's side, Lars Mitchell stood out with his impressive time of 25:01.1, landing himself a silver spot and the highest mark by a Ram at this meet since 2017. This is Mitchell's 2nd strong runner-up finish, earning his 1st at the Wyoming Invite earlier this season. For the women, Anna Petter and Quinn McConnell finished 5th and 7th respectively, while Kenzie May added a top 20 finish of her own. Despite some challenges at the meet, the Rams showed their true grit and depth throughout the day. With a minimal break beforehand, 5 Rams raced at the Roadrunners Invitational in Denver yesterday morning, and sophomore Brooklyn Ewart led the women with a 28th place finish. Now the Rams get the next couple of weeks off before the Colorado Springs XC Open in early October. Now, Mike, give us even more good news.
Well, I can do just that. Women's soccer gave the visiting Omaha Mavericks their very first loss of the season, and I'd say that's pretty good news, as the team was in need of a win like this for quite some time. This one was an offensive assault from CSU, as the Rams shot the ball 12 more times and got 7 more shots on the goal. However, Omaha had the advantage on the defensive side with 6 saves, but again, it's kind of hard to have any saves with no shots on goal. So in all reality, this one may have been a top-tier defensive and offensive game for the Rams. And Friday night was not the end of the celebration, as Liz Stutzman was named Offensive Player of the Week for the entire Mountain West Conference, scoring the game-winning goal in the 30th minute. Stutzman has also started every game and has 12 shots on goal for the year. After the successful weekend, the Rams will now look to Thursday when they match up with in-conference foe Air Force. Make sure to tune in next week to hear the results. But for now, let's bring it back to football.
That's right, Mike. I didn't want to. Just when you thought the Boulder news was past us, over the weekend, Baylor took a trip to Folsom Field. Yep. Unknowingly, they would help tell a classic Buffs tale for many, many, many years to come.
I mean, look, we go to CSU, right?
Yeah.
We're not supposed to like the Buffs.
Right, but that was a game.
This game from the Buffs was crazy. CU improved to 3-1 overall as they won against their Big 12 opponent, but not only did they come back from a 2-possession deficit, the way they did it was even more impressive.
Yeah, I mean, coming back from 14 points, it's been done.
Yeah,
we've seen it, right? That's pretty standard on a week-by-week basis. But the fact that Boulder was down so many, 24-10 to be more specific in the second quarter, cut the gap by halftime. So you tied the game late in the third before the Bears ended up coming back and taking the lead again. Midway through the fourth quarter.
I mean, this Colorado team just loves the spotlight.
Yeah, they really do.
They love the end of games.
Love the
They're like, all right, this game's close. It's the end of the game. It's time to turn up.
Yeah, let's spice things up a little bit.
I mean,
right?
This game was crazy. That throw, I mean,
yeah.
I don't want to credit Shedeur. I really don't. But this throw that he had was insane at the buzzer here.
Yeah.
Take him to overtime, and God.
I think in the last few days alone, I have seen that clip in slow motion.
So many times.
I've seen it from 19 different angles.
Yep.
I've seen pictures, videos. I mean, some of the craziest commentary you've ever heard, just because nobody was expecting that sort of finish.
And let's not forget that Travis Hunter hit.
Oh, yeah.
Forcing a fumble like that is so rare, and it's so hard to do as a defender. I think the general population doesn't really understand that, but as a defender, hitting that ball out on the end zone, I mean, that's just the perfect place.
Well, I mean, he is one of the best defensive players that you're ever going to see. You know, so you expect that kind of hit from him, that kind of talent. However, just the timing of the game. I mean, you could say if you took that hit away, it would have ended differently.
Oh, yeah, for
right?
sure, because they're scoring there, then you got more points to score.
Exactly. So everybody overlooks that sort of thing. You see the catch, and that's all that gets focused on.
Yep.
But, I mean, without that defense, they would have never gotten to OT in the first place.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely crazy that Saunders was able to go 25 for 41 by the end of the game.
He was an animal. Yeah. I mean,
341 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, looking at the box score, is Boulder a fluke? Dare I bring up that word?
I don't know. I don't want to give them too much credit, but they did look good when they needed to in this game.
Yeah.
Obviously, they beat CSU.
Right.
But, I'm not going to give us too much credit
and
say that we're
Baylor's
a great
little
team.
bit more of an impressive win. Yeah.
I think Boulder will have a decent season. I don't think they're a crazy team, but this win was definitely a crazy win.
I think not that they needed it or anything, but obviously there are a lot of people on the fence about whether they're legitimate, whether they are just a media attention team.
For sure.
These are the kind of games, those are the kind of plays.
This is what builds your builds your fan base, builds your culture. So just it's good for Boulder.
Yeah, I was going to say.
We'll just say that for them.
Good
it's good for Boulder.
Leave it at that.
We'll leave it there. All right, but don't go anywhere just yet, Ram fans. When we come back, Nick Ortiz is back to talk whether certain athletes are living up to their expectations.
Hi. You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home, just in case. If you're probably sober, then why would you do that? Good choice.
Probably okay isn't okay. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
That's a full glass of wine. I'll be chatting you later.
Welcome back from the break, Rams. I'm Nick Ortiz, and I'm happy to be here this week bringing you the booms and the busts of the Mountain West. Booms as in players who are surpassing their expectations, and busts for those who we thought could be doing just a little bit more. Now, before we get into the big boom so far, I just want to reassure you guys that I am rarely wrong when it comes to predictions. So when I said that San Jose State would be the worst team in the Mountain West, well, I may have been a little off, and my prediction is being laughed at because of this man, the one and only quarterback, Emmett Brown. Brown is putting up impressive numbers to say the least, leading the Mountain West with 1,920 passing yards and 13 touchdowns after 4 games. I think that being nearly 300 passing yards in front of the next quarterback would be, well, anyone's idea of success when you were expected to be on the worst team in the conference. And for that alone, I can safely say that Emmett Brown is surpassing all of my expectations. On the other hand, for those who aren't meeting my expectations was a bit of a harder decision. Given that I mostly make the greatest predictions ever, I haven't really had my heart broken by any one single player this season. But there has been one specific aspect of a team that I was hoping for just a little more from, and that would be the defense of the Utah State Aggies. I'm not saying that the Aggies were walking into the season with what was expected to be an unbeatable defense, but when you look at the roster changes that took place and the near rebuild of the starting defensive line, I don't know, I think I was just hoping for a little more from this newly rebuilt team, who was allowing close to 36 points per game. The Aggies would lose 38-21 last Saturday to the Utah Utes. Here's what head coach Nate Dreller had to say on the team's defense.
That alone did not change this game, right? Defensively, first half we held them to, I think, 20 attempts for 80 yards on the rushing. Second half they broke some runs, right? So it's not just the offense being consistent, it's even more so defensively. I think
As we head deeper and deeper into the season, I'm sure that new players will come to blow away our expectations and others will come to fall short. Well, speaking of expectations, I heard we had some pick'ems in store. Mike?
Thanks, Nick. And obviously, welcome back for another round of pick'ems. I'm so ready to hear more incorrect picks from you, Nick. But to start things off the night, coming off a huge win last week, the Broncos head to face the New York Jets. So this is a pretty even matchup here. I'll go to you first.
I was going to say, I took the Jets. I am not a Broncos hater by any means.
For sure.
But the Jets are also coming off a couple huge games.
Okay.
They're looking for their third consecutive victory.
Okay.
They have the MVP. Enough said, right?
Can we say that? It was a few years ago now.
No, but I agree. He hasn't won it in a few years. People are saying he's past his peak. I agree.
He's not bad.
He's getting older. However, he has showed up the last couple games. Jets look good. I think they're a threat. Nick, help me out here.
All right, so I like what you said about Mr. Rogers. You know, we're going to his neighborhood too. I mean, we got to be ready for that. But I mean, just overall, I think when I look at Jets, when I look at Broncos, I think the Jets are the more complete team. I think that just on paper at least. I know we saw Bo Nix heating up and we saw him do really good, but I think when he's going up against the Jets and Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, who's having an amazing season so far, I just, I got to go with the Jets. I feel like it's a safe pick. I feel like I say this every week, but I'm hoping I'm wrong, so Mike, take it away.
I appreciate it when you say you hope you're wrong.
Because I do.
I like the Broncos.
I was going to say,
I'll
give him some credit. Proud of their win.
I'm going to go Broncos here, and it's a little bit of a homer pick, but it's also a little bit of, they impressed me last week.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The Bucs were a team that I picked over the Lions or 2 weeks ago, and it happened. The Bucs had some good wins. Their defense looked really solid.
I don't know what's going on with them.
I really don't know what happened, so that's why I'm kind of just, in my head, I'm like, all right, the Broncos are good. The Broncos are good. They played well, and they're going to play well again. I think Bo Nix really did look good. He looked super composed. I know he still threw an interception, but just overall, he looked composed. His rushing is really, he's the leading rusher on the team right now, which is, not great for the running backs. But overall, I think the team looks good. The last week win just convinced me enough. I'm going Broncos this week.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I think it could go either way.
Yep.
I think it'll be a close game.
For sure.
Neither team is going to blow out the other. I'm glad
Breece
Nick brought up. I was just about to say, I'm glad Nick brought up
Breece Hall scares me.
If Breece Hall gets the ball early and often, I think that's a Jets game.
Look, that was the story last year. He destroyed the Broncos when he had the ball, so
early and
I
often.
Can't disagree with that. If Breece Hall gets going, you're right. The Jets.
But if our defense played like they did last week, then it's a whole
this
other story at that
defense
point.
looked solid, so I'm hoping that we can see more of that this week.
Yeah, I was going to say, staying in the NFL for the next one, for sure one of the better games, definitely. Lions versus the Seahawks. We have seen some really, really promising looks from both teams so far. Still early.
They're 3-0.
Yeah, exactly. Lions are 2-1, which for a Lions record, come on now, right? They're up.
And they got beat by the Bucs, who the Broncos beat. It's like, what does that mean?
So the Broncos are better than the Lions.
Right, exactly. That's I don't know what it means, really.
Broncos are the best team in the league. Winning the Super Bowl, that's what you got to take away from it.
Transitive properties here. Just keep adding up.
No, for this one, I took the Seahawks. Okay. It was kind of, like you said, could go either way.
Yep.
We picked this game because it's another good one, another close one. We don't want to be talking about the blowouts, so it's just our fun, right? Nothing to argue about. Geno Smith projected to throw plus 200. Okay. I think that's a good number for him. I'm confident that he can do that. In terms of the Lions, though, they surprised me. And teams that surprise me, that are a little bit unpredictable, scare me, especially with a team like the Seahawks where they can start out really, really hot and then just go downhill so quickly.
So here's my defense for the Lions. They had these games, like they had last week, I think, against the Bucs, where they fall apart. They had it twice last year against the Bears, where they fell apart. They won one of those games still, but they fall apart just randomly against certain teams. So I think that's what that was against the Bucks. I think this win off the Cardinals is going to propel them into this game. I just think they have too much talent on this roster.
Yeah, they do.
It was what I argued against when Nick said the Lions over the Bucks for the receiver depth, but they really do have some crazy receiver depth. Their leading receiver right now is not even Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's Jamison Williams, who's considered their wide receiver too.
And the fact that you can even say that.
Right. So there's people on this team, so I feel like this is a more talented roster. And it's at Ford Field, so that's why I'm going to go with the Lions.
Well, I mean, like you're over here, we got the same pick for once, which is kind of astonishing to even begin with. But I think it's just, the Seahawks are good. I won't take that away. I think they're a solid team. But like you guys were saying, that receiving depth is just so much more than what the Seahawks have. And if you look at the Seahawks, they have some injuries towards the
and they're just
bottoms
older
of the lineup.
Overall.
Yeah.
The whole lineup is kind of older. Gino's older. Tyler Lockett's older. They're kind of just. I feel like they're on the way out because Gino's a little older. I feel like they need.
And is it really 3-0 if you're 3-0 against the Broncos, Pats, and Fins?
I thought we were just defending the Broncos a second ago.
This feels like when the Broncos won 3-0 a few years ago.
Well, it was against Bo Nick's debut, so.
I would say, with the Seahawks, I'm banking on their balanced offense. Okay. I think if they can throw the Lions' defense off, nothing to do with their offense, throw them off, mix it up, passing, rushing, keep them on their toes. I think, that success that Seattle has had with the Lions in the past come through, make them fall apart.
It'll be a close game.
Right, exactly. A good game.
Let's go to the next one.
All right, well, now I'll introduce the next one as someone who has, I guess, my doubts about CSU football pretty frequently, but they're taking on Oregon State this week. Before I get into it,
a little rough.
Let's hear what you got to say, Ella. I feel like you got some opinions.
I think we're all green.
When I first started here at CTV, I was somebody who not looked down on, but very often questioned the CSU football program.
Definitely.
And it was justified at the time, and I think it is still justified now. And because of that, I did take Oregon State. It is not that I haven't seen things that I like in CSU's roster this year. I think that we have the potential to go at least 500 for sure. But Oregon is just not one of those teams that we're going to put up a win against.
And honestly, those wins to get us to that bowl game or that 500 are probably going to be against not great teams.
Right.
Like Wyoming, who wasn't won a game.
Exactly.
So I'm also going Oregon State on this one. I love to go for CSU.
I would
love to cheer for them.
I wish I could say I was confident they would win.
And I love picking them when they're going against a bad team.
Right.
But they're going against a good 3-1 Oregon State team that I just think this is a good team. I think they might blow the Rams out.
I was going to say, when you mix a strong Oregon State defense with a vulnerable CSU offense, you get a bad look.
Nick,
I really like Jam Griffin on Oregon State. I think that kid's insane. I mean, I know we got Morrow going on right now.
We do.
But I just
He's hot.
And he is hot, yes. But I would just take Jam Griffin over him any day. So I don't think it's much of a contest.
No, I get that. The offensive just difference here. Yeah. It's too much. I think Oregon State's running away with this one.
Yeah.
But we'll go to another college game.
Right.
Moving into NCAA ranked territory, we go to Kansas State and Oklahoma State. I kind of have some strong opinions on this one just because I think K-State is not that team.
I was going to say, start us off then. Go for it.
They lost to a BYU team that's, granted they're 4-0.
Yeah.
They lost, brutally lost, 31-9 to a BYU team that's not ranked.
I was going to say, in college, undefeated doesn't always mean good.
No, but just watching that game, it did not look like Kansas State knew how to play football.
No,
so
I agree
I just
with that,
cannot go with them over an Oklahoma State team that took Utah to the wire, and Utah's a really good team.
Yeah.
So I think Oklahoma State is the better team here by far.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've got some things that I think are going to determine this game in Oklahoma State's favor, but before anything else, I want to hear what Nick has to say and why he's going Kansas.
All right, well, I think the big thing, you say Kansas State kind of lost to these teams who you're not really looking to, you think they should beat. But the thing is, Oklahoma State, they played a ranked team, they lost. Kansas State plays a ranked team, they win. They played Arizona, they won 31-7.
Yeah, but
this is a ranked team.
Arizona's not a ranked team.
Well, they were at the time.
But that's what's proven why they're not ranked.
But they were. So I think them going in there
is going to be top 10. That's all I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. These guys are going to prove you wrong.
We will explain how the top 25 ranking works to Nick.
Yes.
And hopefully he will get by the end of the show that the top 25 is the best 25 team.
Because Utah was ranked 12.
There we go.
And you said Arizona was ranked 20.
So
I think it's a bigger, it's all right.
Statistically, if we want to get real technical. 20.
Well, I don't hate the Kansas State pick. I just think their last game just ruined it for me. I couldn't choose them after what happened against BYU.
Yeah. But before we talk about biggest game of the year, or For some people,
yes,
right?
For some
Arguably
people.
biggest game of the year.
Right.
Another one to look out for this week, Penn State versus Illinois.
Yep.
Two teams that I grew up watching.
There you go.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep.
I, unfortunately, even though I'm Illinois grown, took Penn State for this one.
Yep.
I just think looking at it, I wasn't confident enough in Illinois' up and rising ability
I get that.
to say they're going to win this game.
I just think Penn State is this type of team. They're the type of team that they beat a bunch of nobodies. Their fans are all like, yeah, we're going undefeated.
I don't think
we're going
that's
to the bowl
true.
games, and then they lose these games. James Franklin is notorious for losing in anything that considers a playoff or a bowl game.
Yeah.
And I know this is not that, but I just think they are going to underestimate Illinois, just like Nebraska did last week.
Yeah.
I think Luke Altmaier,
That's
the
a great
quarterback,
point.
is the real deal. Pat Bryant, the receiver. This team is loaded with talent, and I think they're surprising.
And that's kind of
Penn
one of the
State.
main reasons.
Yeah.
I think I took Illinois too. I like
enough.
Altmaier a lot.
Yeah.
I think this kid throwing up 862 yards so far. I mean,
just watching that game against
I know,
Nebraska,
right?
he looked pure.
He's steady. He's
confident.
calm.
Yep.
He's there. So I gotta go with Illinois. It wasn't much of a
I'm
tough
representing.
pick, but
I'm representing the homegrown
Is it
Illinois.
because of his talent? Is it because he's been underestimated? Or is it because people just don't know how to approach him?
I think it's because no one thought Illinois football
That's what
would
it
be
is.
doing much.
They don't know how to approach him.
And a lot of the players on this team
Yeah.
look good, and they look like they can compete at a high level.
Yeah.
That defense in that overtime against Nebraska, they pushed them back 50 yards. I mean, if
Yeah.
that defense doesn't encourage you against a team like Penn State, which always is a shaky offense,
It's going to be a defensive game, though,
Yes,
with you saying
yes.
that, because Penn State's defense also very solid.
always
I was
really
going to say
good,
also
yeah.
very, very, very good. So I would be surprised to see.
it's just going to who's getting the holes,
There you go.
who's capitalizing on the opportunities. I think it's going to be Illinois. I think they got the momentum right now.
Yeah.
I'm running.
Who finds
with
it
them.
early?
I'm running with Illinois.
all right.
Yeah.
Well, I
Nick?
mean, in many households, Saturday will be treated like a holiday. The Bulldogs and the Crimson Tide. Not to mention, Alabama is the last school that has been able to take Georgia down. So, I mean, what are you guys thinking right now? I know, Mike, you got some opinions.
For like almost that exact reason, that's why I'm going with Alabama. It seems to be just Georgia's kryptonite. Obviously, not with those national championship runs, but those were different teams. Those are not the same team that Georgia has today. Those are not the same teams that are barely beating a team like Kentucky in football.
Yeah, it's so interesting that we can't look at the national championship runs to see who
It's
is
not
gonna
the
win this
same
game.
teams.
Fascinating.
I mean, I'm just saying, you can't just use those championships and say, oh, Georgia's going to keep rolling.
No, but I'm not.
They took them out last year. That's why I'm going Alabama.
Okay, well, last year, different teams, right?
But Alabama brought back
Right?
a lot of the same players.
And Georgia brought back their defense.
But Alabama beat them. But Alabama beat that defense. That's all I'm saying.
Brought back a stronger, new and improved,
Okay.
better defense
Okay.
that is
I
going to
like
take down.
Georgia's O-line. That's all I'm saying. I like their O-line against Kentucky last game.
Look, you're not.
I'll leave it.
You liked the last game?
Yeah.
The 13 to 12
I saw some positives there,
It's
Mike.
a win.
You got to look for the
A
positives.
win is
you know?
a win.
A 13 to 12 win is only acceptable as the number 1 seed if it is someone in the top 10. It is not acceptable if you are the
Oh my
number 1 seed in the
goodness.
country and you cannot beat Kentucky by more than 1 single point.
They had an off game.
Okay.
They're coming back,
They're
ready
just
to go.
preparing
And
for
this
this
week
game,
is
and
gonna-
you're going to
They
feel
didn't
silly
wanna
when
Swing
they
them
use-
win.
around.
They didn't want to score all of their points
Oh,
against
okay.
Kentucky to hold it for the
Okay.
Alabama game,
Exactly.
right?
No, not right at all. I think Alabama is their kryptonite. They're at Bryant-Denny Stadium. I think Alabama takes this one. It's up to you guys, but I'm thinking Alabama.
Wait until you see
But
Carson Beck.
Don't go anywhere just yet, Ram fans. When we come back from the break,
Yo, Scott.
Hey.
I'm heading out, man. You want to ride?
No, I got my car, but I actually really need to go to the bathroom.
You know what? I was just in there. The line is like 10 people long.
You know, I think I'll just...
Dude, are you okay?
You wouldn't believe what I was just thinking. I am definitely buzzed.
Yeah.
I think I will take this, and I will take that ride home.
Smart man.
Did you see how that dog was looking at me?
Welcome back from the break, Ram fans, and to a new segment here at CTV, where we talk recent Colorado State athletes we believe deserve to be inducted into the CSU Hall of Fame. Now, since inception in 1988, we have watched some incredible names be honored here. And to start things off, one of the non-negotiables, right? I think we're all on the same page, had to mention her name first and foremost, Maya Lesner. I mean, not... I was going to say not just the 2023-2024 season, but her leadership skills since her transfer from ASU, the attitude, the humility that she has brought to this team is just absolutely incredible and honestly impossible to replace.
Just popularity to it.
That's what I'm thinking too. I
Brought
think
a
we're
name to the sport.
mainly kind of, here we look at football, we look at basketball, but she brings a lot of attention to the sport.
Like I don't feel like a lot of people are talking about, especially throwing in track.
Oh,
If anything, you're talking about, 100 meter, like the kind of the flashy stuff. But she really brought a name to the throwing sports of track, and I think that's more than enough reason.
I was saying not only that, but just as a female athlete to be named Female Athlete of the Year for the Mountain West 2023-2024, to be the first, Ram to do that, go to Boston in March and do the whole thing. Second team All-American for shot put at the NCAA Outdoor National Championships. I mean, her resume is just stacked and stacked and stacked. And for CSU, reset every single record. I mean, for the CSU Hall of Fame, her name should be big, it should be bold, it should be up front because she has done so much for this team.
It's definitely on there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
Nick, what do you think?
For my prospect, it's just, I think coming from the time I've been here, it's Tori Horton. Let's get that away right now. But it's just,
let's not waste any time.
Yeah, let's get right to the business. I like it. I don't know. I've been here. This is my second year, and just constantly from the moment I got here to up until still on this show, we're still talking about him.
Yeah,
it's all you hear about.
He's just making magic happen on the field for. Team that I'm not always optimistic about, but I don't know.
But when he's
think
playing,
he's that
produces,
significant.
Right?
Oh yeah,
so
absolutely.
he's putting up the numbers. He's doing those crazy plays like the punt returns.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah.
He's just such a player.
He keeps it exciting. He brings the energy, keeps the defense on their toes, keeps the students on their toes in the stands.
When you're losing faith out there in the game,
trust in Tori Horton.
Yeah. You go to a game for athletes like Tori Horton, and that is why he deserves that Hall of Fame spot.
For sure.
Yeah. So I just undoubtedly for me, he's there.
I hope he has a really good rest of the season. I know he's kind of dealing with some injuries right now, but CSU needs him now more than ever.
Just hope he can power through that.
Just looking at the receiving from last game, the
absolutely.
longest reception was the
resume.
most yards we had. It was Jordan Ross with one catch for 36 yards was our leading receiver. So I mean, we definitely
Rams football, baby. That's what we got.
We need a guy like Tori Horton out there. So, No, I definitely agree. Tori Horton's a good mention.
Yeah, that name will go down. We'll talk about it 10, 20 years from now. CSU football.
And I think mine's another not a surprising one. I'm going with McKenna Hoshiel. I mean, she's just. Probably, besides Becky Hammond, because
there you go.
She's an obvious one. I think McKenna is obviously the next best player in CSU history. Mountain West Player of the Year in 2022, 2023. 4-time All Mountain West team, which means
she has so many titles.
All 4 years she was here, she was on the Mountain West team. She's the all-time, not just in CSU, in all Mountain West, she's the all-time assist leader. I mean, her names just aren't in our record books. They're in the Mountain West record books. They're everywhere. This is not even disputable. I think it's along the same lines as Isaiah Stevens. Obviously, it's the same record.
Definitely.
So I was going between those two, but number 4. So both of them.
I mean, another athlete that has done so much for the women in athletics community, for women's sports in general. You saw so much attention being drawn to women's basketball last year because of Caitlin Clark and everything going on with March Madness. And McKenna Hofschild is just one of those names that you have to honor.
Starts every game all 4 years. She's never not there. Every game you go to, she's playing.
She's there.
She's putting up numbers.
And she brings a good attitude.
Yeah.
If you know me, you know I'm not the biggest basketball guy, but still, I seriously hear this chick's name everywhere. And I'm just like,
every game you see
she's just constantly getting better every year, it seems. Like, it doesn't seem like she's happy with where she's at. No. So, I mean, definitely on the
I think all 3 of these, easy Hall of Fame.
Non-negotiables. People are going to talk about years from now, people we've talked about for the last few years.
You can debate they didn't win many championships and rings and stuff like that, but they put up the stats, and they were amazing when they were here.
Indeed.
But that's all we've got for you tonight, Ram fans. Have a safe, great rest of your night, and we will see you next week.